Silent Confessions, a story of boundaries and betrayal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silent Confessions, Story of Infidelity. My name is Mia, and today I'm sharing a story from my past that still leaves me shaken. It's something I've carried for years, a memory I've tried to bury but never could. The experience changed the way I saw love, trust, and the people closest to me. As I recount this, I hope it helps you understand the complexity of relationships and why boundaries matter. Stay with me until the end, and don't forget to subscribe for more deeply personal and thought-provoking stories like this one. It all started when I was 18, living with my family in a quiet but charming suburban town called Fairhaven. My parents were successful professionals, my dad a lawyer and my mom an event planner. Despite their busy lives, they always made sure my two older brothers, Ethan and Luke, and I had everything we needed. Ethan and Luke were twins, 2 years older than me, and if I had to describe them, I'd say they were the kind of guys everyone liked: handsome, charismatic, and protective to a fault. Being the youngest, I was often spoiled. My parents gave me everything I wanted, but no amount of material gifts could match the bond I had with Ethan and Luke. They weren't just my brothers, they were my best friends and my protectors. Growing up, they shielded me from everything: bullies at school, heartbreaks, and even my own insecurities. They always said I was their little princess and made it their mission to make me feel cherished. And I did, maybe a little too much. One summer afternoon, something happened that would forever change the way I saw them and myself. The day started like any other. The sunlight streamed through the large windows of our living room, and Ethan and Luke were sprawled on the couch, watching something on TV. I walked in, still groggy from a nap, rubbing my eyes as I approached them. They were so absorbed in whatever they were watching that they didn't even notice me. Feeling playful, I jumped onto the couch, landing squarely on their laps. "What are you guys watching?" I asked, grinning. Ethan looked startled, and Luke burst into laughter. "Seriously, Mia, can't you sit like a normal person?" Luke teased. I laughed and leaned back, resting my head on Ethan's shoulder. "So what's so interesting on the screen?" It was a romantic movie, the kind with a lot of intense stares and passionate embraces. Just as I asked, the characters on screen shared a heated kiss. I felt Ethan tense up beside me, and Luke quickly covered my eyes with his hand. "Not for you, kiddo," he said, laughing awkwardly. "I'm not a kid anymore," I shot back, trying to peek through his fingers. "I'm 18, remember?" They both laughed, but I could sense a weird tension in the air. Ignoring it, I kept teasing them and tried to wiggle free. In the process, I reached out to balance myself and accidentally brushed against something in Luke's pocket. It was hard and warm, and the sensation made me freeze. "Oh, sorry," I stammered, pulling my hand back. My face turned bright red, and I quickly got up, mumbling something about needing to go to my room. I didn't look at either of them as I bolted upstairs, my heart racing. Once in my room, I sat on my bed, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Was it just a remote control, or was it something else? My thoughts spiraled, and I couldn't shake the embarrassment. The closeness we had always shared suddenly felt different, heavier, as if some invisible line had been crossed. Later that evening, I reluctantly came down for dinner. My family was already at the table, chatting and laughing as if nothing had happened. I avoided Ethan and Luke's eyes, but they seemed perfectly normal, even teasing me about sleeping so much. But the incident stayed with me, lingering in the back of my mind. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. The house was still, cloaked in the kind of quiet that only comes with the earliest hours of dawn. The faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen was the only noise until something else caught my attention. From the direction of Ethan and Luke's room, I began to hear faint sounds. At first, I thought it was the TV, but as I sat up and listened more closely, I realized the noises weren't quite right. They didn't have the sharpness or rhythm of dialogue or action scenes. These sounds were softer, muted, and rhythmic, like a strange, intimate cadence I couldn't immediately place. Curiosity prickled at the edges of my thoughts, but I told myself to ignore it. Maybe they were just talking or laughing quietly. But the longer I sat there, the harder it was to convince myself that it was nothing. The noises had a pattern, a subtle rise and fall, punctuated by occasional pauses that made my heart beat faster. My face flushed, the warmth spreading to my neck and ears as I tried to shake off the thoughts forming in my mind. But the more I resisted, the clearer the sounds seemed to become. Driven by a mix of curiosity and unease, I tiptoed out of bed and opened my door just enough to peer into the hallway. The light filtering through the blinds cast faint shadows, and the stillness of the house felt almost oppressive. I hesitated, but the pull of the unfamiliar sounds was too strong. I crept down the hall, each step feeling heavier than the last as the noises grew more distinct. When I finally reached their door, I stopped, my breath catching in my throat. The sounds were unmistakable now. A rhythmic intimacy filled the air, and I could feel the heat rising in my chest as my thoughts spiraled. I pressed my ear against the door, barely daring to breathe. Every fiber of me wanted to turn around, to go back to my room and forget whatever I thought I might be hearing. But something kept me rooted in place. Just as I leaned in a little closer, the door swung open without warning. I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance, and found myself face to face with Luke. His expression was a mix of shock and embarrassment, his eyes wide as he took in the sight of me standing there. Behind him, Ethan appeared, his face equally flushed, and the tension in the air was so thick it felt suffocating. "Mia, what are you doing?" His face was red, and he avoided my eyes. Behind him, Ethan appeared, his expression equally awkward. The silence between us was unbearable. I was just passing by," I stammered, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. They exchanged a glance, and Luke cleared his throat. I nodded, muttered something incoherent, and rushed back to my room. For the rest of the day, I avoided them. The atmosphere in the house felt heavy, as if we were all pretending nothing had happened. But that night, Luke knocked on my door. When I opened it, he stood there, looking hesitant. "Mia, about earlier, I'm sorry if we made you uncomfortable. It wasn't what you think." Ethan appeared behind him, nodding in agreement. "Yeah, it was nothing. Let's just forget about it, okay?" I wanted to believe them, but something about their tone made me doubt. Still, I forced a smile and said, "Sure, don't worry about it." From that point on, things were never quite the same. The bond we had once shared felt strained, as if the unspoken tension had created a rift between us. I often wondered if I had imagined everything, but deep down, I knew something had shifted. Our closeness had blurred boundaries, and it left me questioning what was appropriate and what wasn't. Looking back, I realize how important it is to maintain boundaries, even with the people you love most. Curiosity and emotions can lead us down paths we never intended to take, and it's crucial to recognize where to draw the line. To this day, I carry the lessons from that summer, both the good and the bad. They've shaped who I am and how I navigate relationships. If this story resonated with you or made you think about your own experiences, please subscribe to Silent Confessions, Story of Infidelity. Every story we share is a reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the lessons they teach us. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more stories that reveal the hidden truths of our lives.